Hey, it's Sri here, and in today's video I'm going to talk you through the 4 ways in which most women block their feminine energy when they're in a relationship or marriage. Now before we dive in, I just want to let you know that I'm opening up a few limited spots for my free masterclass, which is going to show you the 3 key steps that my client Sarah used to be able to save her marriage in less than 60 days. You're going to absolutely love it. So make sure you stick around to the end of this training and I'm going to walk you through exactly how you get access to that. And make sure you click the subscribe button below so you can receive access to my weekly videos on Sundays and Tuesdays at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, where you'll learn not only about how you can save your marriage and reclaim your self-worth as a woman, but also how you can learn more about male psychology as well. Now the steps I'm going to walk you through today are at the very core of the work that I do. Is that for any relationship or marriage to be able to function well and to have real passion, there has to be a balance of both masculine and feminine energies. Now just to be clear, this is gender independent. You know, women can have both masculine and feminine energies, and men can have both masculine and feminine energies as well. But one is particularly more dominant in the other. Now what happens is, let's say, hypothetically speaking, you have the woman who's more feminine and the man who's more masculine. When there's stresses in a relationship, then what can happen is that those roles get reversed, and so it creates what we call depolarization. And when depolarization exists, the feminine person becomes more masculine, the masculine person becomes more feminine. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk you through the 4 ways in which a lot of women that I speak to block their feminine energy, and then how you can go about creating a shift in that. Now just to lay the platform a little bit, you see, a marriage or a relationship is not there to complete you. You know, despite what all the movies talk about and Jerry Maguire and all that stuff, a marriage is not there to complete you, it's there to complement you. So the idea is that you build the relationship within yourself first, and then the relationship is an extension of how you feel within yourself. And a lot of clients that I speak to, they disconnect from themselves in terms of who they really are. They don't connect in with their true feminine essence. And when they're not doing that, their self-worth goes through the floor, their self-respect, their self-confidence, all of that stuff just completely is deteriorated. So we want to help to reclaim that so you can be the best version of yourself. So the first way to block your feminine energy is by controlling things. You see, naturally, when we're under stress, when we've got challenges in our lives, we immediately want to try and control the situation. Now, let's say you're in a relationship or marriage and you're not getting the attention that you want from your significant other. Now, naturally, you're going to want to try and control the situation. You're going to want to ask questions. You're going to try and keep nagging and try and keep pushing to try and get that attention that you want. But what that does is it completely takes you away from your true essence of who you are, your feminine spirit. Feminine energy is all about flow. Feminine energy is about feeling. Feminine energy is all about love and connection. And so as soon as you step into control, that immediately takes you away from that. And you'll start to feel on edge. You won't feel like your normal self. And a lot of the times, I mean, the comment that I always hear about from my clients is, Shri, I'm just so different to who I was 5 years, 10 years, 15, 20 years ago. I don't even know who I am anymore. And that's because so many times they step into this mode of control. Not all the time, but a lot of the times it steps into that place. So the first thing that you can do is to make sure that you begin to relinquish that sense of control in your relationship or marriage. Because the more you try and control it, not only will it impact you, but it'll impact the other person as well, because they're going to feel claustrophobic and they're going to want to run away as well. So really do your best to try and relinquish that sense of control inside by really learning to step into the present moment. The present moment is where we find true happiness, true joy. And I know it's challenging, but if you can just make a conscious effort to just really focus in on this moment rather than stepping into too much fear, because the reason we try and control things is because we're afraid of the outcome. We might be afraid of being alone. We might be afraid of, never finding someone again, and so on. And so because of that, we try and control every little bit. And that's just it's a natural human reaction. But if you can bypass that natural reaction and do your very best to try and stay in the moment and trust that everything is fundamentally going to be okay in the long run, regardless of whatever the outcome is, that's going to give you a sense of peace. And when you get that sense of peace, you're going to get clarity in your mind. And when you get clarity in your mind, you're going to be able to make the best decisions that you possibly can make. And also, what will happen is that the other person will notice that in you. They'll feel that you'll actually have a totally different energy about you because you're not trying to control and manipulate every little thing. Okay? And like I say, look, I know that when people are going through challenges in their relationship or marriage, it's really difficult. And naturally, we want to try and control the situation. This is just about recognizing how can we ensure that we're in the best emotional state that we can be, and how can we be the best and most pure feminine spirit within ourselves. That's the key thing for you. Now, the second way to block your feminine energy is by not spending enough time doing the things that bring you joy. You see, as I said before, so many people get into relationships or marriages as a way to complete them. And once they go in there with that intent, what they're effectively saying is that the relationship or marriage is the number one thing in their life. Which, for me, of course, my marriage is the most important thing in my life. But it's really important that you have to have a sense of balance in it as well. Because if we don't have balance and we're always looking to that other person to bring us joy, then we're disempowering ourselves. And so what you really want to be doing is spending more time doing the things that bring you joy, that actually light you up, that light your feminine spirit up. Because as you do that, you're going to start feeling lighter in yourself. You're going to find more happiness. You're going to find more joy. And then your relationship or marriage is going to be an extension of how you feel on the inside. We don't spend enough time doing the things that bring us joy, because when we're in a relationship or marriage and it's really, really tough and it's bringing up all these negative emotions, we end up in survival mode. And when we're in survival mode, we're always about trying to protect what we have, because the most scary thing that we could do is lose what it is that we have right now. That's the scariest thing for a lot of people. And even if it's not something that's good, we still get into massive amounts of fear. And that's why it's so important that if you can start spending some quality time on you and bring yourself some joy, doing those things that actually light you up, that light your feminine spirit up, you're going to feel so much lighter. You're going to feel so much more relaxed. And I promise you, you're going to have this newfound sense of joy and just a zest for life that you wouldn't have had before. Now, just quickly, in the comment section below, I just want you to tell me, what's the single biggest challenge that you've had when it comes to embracing your feminine spirit? Just quickly write down your answers below. Now, the third way that you go about blocking your feminine spirit and feminine energy is by burying yourself in activities. You see, a lot of the time when people go through any kind of challenge in their life, and that's whether they've lost a loved one or they're going through a divorce, one of the biggest things that they struggle with is that they don't know how to cope in that moment. And once again, they enter in survival mode. And we fight, flight, or freeze. Now, one of the ways in which a lot of people do this is by burying themselves in activities or their work or activities around the house, whatever it is. They just immerse themselves in it, because that way it distracts them from the pain that they're going through at that moment in time. But here's the issue. When you distract yourself from the pain, what you're actually doing is you're self-rejecting, because you're not honoring what's actually going on inside. You're not honoring what's happening mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and physically. It's so important to take advantage of that, to honor what it is. Because as you learn to accept and be at peace with what's happening on the inside, then you don't get consumed by it. You can actually heal it and overcome it and resolve those challenges, and you get clarity of mind. Even in my own life, whenever I've had challenges in the past, what I used to do was I would just completely avoid it, and I would just go and put all my energy into other things. And I thought that was actually helping me. But then what happened was it would just suppress the pain, and then eventually it would just come to the surface again, and I would just be consumed with anger or sadness or jealousy or whatever it was. So those emotions would just keep coming up because I suppressed them, I neglected them, and I didn't actually confront the fundamental issues that I was having to go through at the time. So it's so important that you don't just bury yourself in other activities, that you actually learn to confront what's actually coming up inside of you at an emotional level. Once you do that, you're going to feel so much more in connection with yourself, and that's what the feminine spirit is about. The feminine spirit is about connecting in with who you are, connecting in with your own energy, connecting in with your own flow. So it's so important to do that. Otherwise, you will completely self-reject, and at some point in the future, you'll end up having to deal with those challenges. And the easiest example I can give you is that when someone ends up losing a loved one, and instead of actually learning to go through the process of grief, what they end up doing is just completely avoiding it and burying themselves in work or finding ways to distract themselves, and then at some point it all just comes crashing down. So that's why it's so important to not bury yourself in activities and to actually learn to process yourself, process the emotions within you, process all of the grief, process all of the hardship, process all the pain, the sadness, the rejection, all of that stuff. You want to process all of that. And I know that's going to be challenging. I know it's going to be painful, but I promise you that in the long run, as you do that, you are going to feel so liberated, and you're going to process and go through the healing process much quicker than you would have if you'd been avoiding and distracting yourself. Now, the fourth way to block your feminine energy is by stepping into too much blame and anger. See, look, there's going to be times in a marriage or relationship where, you're going to have some challenges and you're going to get angry, and that's okay. And, another person might do something, you're going to feel like you're going to want to blame them for what they've done, and that's okay from time to time. But if you're always living in that place, if you always feel like the other person is doing something to you all the time, if you're stepping into that anger all the time, then that is going to be toxic to yourself. And what it's going to do is going to force you to disconnect from your feminine essence. You won't feel light. You won't feel in the flow of life. You won't feel joyful. And I don't want that for you. So the best thing that you can begin to do is say to yourself, firstly, how can I actually take ownership of my own emotional state? See, naturally, when we step into anger, what's actually happening there is that we're disempowering ourselves because someone else has done something to us, someone else has attacked us, someone else has treated us poorly, but we're not stepping into that compassionate place. We're not recognizing and understanding where that person is coming from. And just to be clear, this is not just about your relationship or marriage. This is in any area of your life. The more you get to empathize and understand with what the other person's going through, then what happens is you can look at it from a totally different mindset. You can change how you perceive those situations, and you won't feel yourself feeling all tense and yuck like someone else is always doing something to you. Because when we do that, what we do is we step into what we call victim consciousness. And when we step into victim consciousness, everyone else are doing things to us. As opposed to, is there maybe a different way in which we can actually view the circumstances that we're facing right now? Now, I know that might be a little bit of a challenge for some of you to be able to understand, because when we've built up that muscle of anger and blame and so forth for a long period of time, when someone says to us, look, we need to drop that and change our perspective, it's going to bring up some triggers inside of you. That's natural and that's okay. So there's nothing wrong with that. But I encourage you, if you can just for a couple of minutes every day, to begin to look at someone else's perspective, to be able to look at your husband or partner's perspective, and to be able to understand and empathize, what are they going through? What are their challenges? And also, how can I begin to show love and give love in a way that's for their highest good and for my own highest good as well? If you can start to understand that, if you can start to recognize that and create that little shift in your mindset, you're going to prevent yourself from blocking your own feminine spirit, and you're going to really begin to embrace that as well. You might be asking, how do I even connect in with my feminine spirit? Well, it's a great question, and I go through all of that in my free masterclass training, where I talk you through the 3 steps that my client Sarah used to be able to save her marriage in less than 60 days. You'll absolutely love it. And we also go into depth about how you can create some shifts on an emotional level as well. Because to me, in order to create a shift in any kind of marriage, you've got to shift yourself emotionally first. So we go into depth with that. So all you need to do is in the description section below where it says register for this masterclass, just click on that link, choose a time that works for you, and then you can access the training. And just play full out. Make sure you come along to the training with a notepad so you can actually start to write down those notes, because that's how you're going to absorb all of the information as well. And secondly, if you want to connect with me more, then all you need to do is in the description section below, you get a link to my private Facebook group. There's some amazing people in that group who have been able to create some extraordinary changes in their relationship or marriage, and I know you'll absolutely love it. So just click on the link below, you can get access to that Facebook group and I'll add you. And then you can get access to all this free information and trainings and so forth where you can learn about how you can improve the quality of your relationship or marriage, and also within yourself as well. So thank you so much for watching this video. If you've liked it, click the like button below. If you want to get more videos like this, hit the subscribe button. And if you want to learn the 3 steps to be able to save your marriage, just click on this video above. And if you want to learn the 3 ways in which you can give your husband more space, just click on this video above. Thank you so much, and I'll talk to you soon.